Here's the disclaimer. If you're above about 135 IQ or so, this video is not going to be very useful to you, because if you do have an IQ that high, you should have already figured this out. If you haven't, there's no help for you anyway. This video is aimed for people from about, I'd say 95 to about 130 IQ. So those of you above and below that, go away. Thank you. Hi there, Lord JEG here. What we're going to talk about today is being Christian adjacent. Now, what does that mean exactly? Well, in a nutshell, what it means is that you don't have to be a Christian, at least in a Western country. You can be a pagan LARPer. You can be an atheist. You can be a Gnostic. You can be a Gnostic, in fact. You can be pretty much whatever you want to be. Okay? But what it is that the very reason that you're allowed to exist and that you're allowed to be that way is, oddly enough, because of the Christian traditions and the Christian foundation of the Western countries, Western civilization. Okay? Let's back up a little. So, what is the definition of Western civilization? Now, to put it crudely, some people would say, well, it's my constitution. But as somebody once put it so eloquently, my civilization is more than a fucking piece of paper. It's my blood, my gods, my land. Okay? And in a nutshell, that person is essentially right. Now, Western civilization is composed of the European ethnicities, the Greco-Roman heritage, and Christianity. Okay? Now, you can play around with that order. I would argue that Christianity is the most important part of that, and I'm sure that there's others that would agree, and of course there's others that will disagree. But basically, these three things combined to make Western civilization what it is today. Now, what you're probably going to get is, I always get this argument where, well, what about enlightenment? Okay? Well, the Enlightenment is an interesting thing, because the whole whitewash with that is that the Enlightenment sought to combine, basically synthesize God, reason, nature, and humanity, and kind of reconcile all those things. Again, a synthesis. Okay? But the truth is that the Enlightenment probably did more to kind of ease God out of the picture than just about anything else before or since. And this is probably summed up best by the famous Nietzsche quote, where he says, God is dead and we killed him, essentially. Okay? And I think that's kind of the final, that's the victory lap of Enlightenment thinking. Okay? And the problem is that this led to postmodernism. Well, it led modernism and then postmodernism. And then you get to existentialism and nihilism and, all these other isms. And what happens with that is that they're all dead ends. Okay? Because what happens is that with existentialism or nihilism or materialism or, whatever ism, again, the end result is that nothing means anything. Okay? And that is why it's important that even if you're not a Christian, you accept that Christianity is what has allowed this to go on. Because you wouldn't find this in, say, a Muslim country. With them, it's the Quran, and whichever version of the 30 different versions of the Quran you're reading, that's it. That's that. And if you're not a Muslim, you're a second-class citizen, And if it gets bad enough, you're either going to be a Muslim or you're going to get a sword to the neck. Okay? It's right there in black and white. Okay? So, again, what do you want? Greco-Roman heritage, Christianity, and European ethnicities, that is, Western nations? Or do you want this gaping maw of nihilism that sucks in and destroys everything? Okay, that's the short answer. That's the short thing. Is you have a choice. Now you can say, oh, I hate Christians and I hate this and I hate that. And that doesn't make any sense. For one thing, again, you have to look back to the foundations of what's going on, of what happened, where you came from. Now, for all of you atheists out there, I'm going to step on your toes a little bit, because what you have is, I don't know, I guess you'd call it a process error, or what would they call that? A category error, I guess, is what you'd call it. Okay? Well, I don't believe in God. I don't believe in other things, or there's some big sky daddy or whatever, okay? And that's fine. Again, it's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard, but whatever, okay? Let's just take it on the face that, okay, you don't. So what do you believe in? Well, I'm going to say that 90% of you probably believe in global warming. And what is global warming? Global warming is an existential crisis because the earth is getting hotter. And why? Because of man's original sin of becoming modern and burning evil fossil fuels. Okay? And how do you cleanse yourself of this? What is your purgatory? Well, your purgatory is, we must reduce our footprint. We must conform to these commandments. Oh, thou shalt be green. Thou shalt not eat meat. Thou shalt not have too many material possessions. Unless, of course, you're a green CEO or something like that, right? Okay, so again, you've just replaced Christianity with a different religion. Okay, and there's, well, I don't really, climate change isn't my religion. Well, okay, let me guess. You've probably got some other religion. It's probably, let's see, could it be Marxism? Well, again, we have our original sin, capitalism. Okay, we have our commandments. Thou shalt not consume. Again, they're kind of similar to the whole global warming thing too. I wonder why. All right. So again, you believe in something. In fact, you believe in something just as fervently as any other, as the most fundamental of fundamentalists of any other kind of religion. You've just traded in one religion for the other. And I don't think I've ever met an atheist who wasn't either mad at dad or mad at God. And, because again, they kind of mix up the two. Okay? So, again. So we've got that. So you can poke the bubble in that. Agnostics, or if you prefer agnostics, are probably the hardest one to reach, because the thing is that, an honest agnostic will tell you that they don't know, and that they don't have any way of knowing, whether there's a God or not, and you can give all the examples that you want. What if God showed up and said, I'm God? Well, how do I know it's not an alien? Or how do I know that we're not in a simulation? Or how do I know? 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 That's what it all boils down to, is I have no way of knowing. And that's probably why, trying to convince an agnostic of anything is kind of a thorny problem, which, leaves most people, most Christians, leaves them either shaking their head, or, the more militant ones are like, well, you're just a fucking idiot. There's no hope for you, And just so the pagan LARPers don't feel left out, that's cool. Pagan LARPers are always like, well, I'm a pagan. I worship nature, and I worship trees, and I worship, whatever particular branch, no pun intended, of paganism that you subscribe to. But most of you are actually neo-pagans, assuming that you're even that. Again, most of you are just LARPers. If you're a pagan, chances are you're a LARPer, because you probably don't have the stomach to be a real pagan. Because real pagans, at some point there's always a sacrifice involved, and it's usually children. So, unless you've got the stomach to burn children alive in a little wooden cage or whatever, think of the Wicker Man, but with, your favorite cousin or niece or something. All right. So there's that. So again, I'm not here to change anybody's mind. I'm just kind of here to point something out and hope that you do a little more research, even if it's just to prove me wrong, even if it's just to say, you, sir, are full of shit. Well, that's fine. Maybe I am, and if I am and you call me out on it, you better have your facts straight when you do it. All right? So if you do a little research just to shut me up or just to prove me wrong, hey, that's awesome. But you're not going to be able to refute the fact that Western civilization was based on the European ethnicities, the Greco-Roman tradition, and Christianity, and that the combination of those things gave rise to the modern world as we know it. Good and bad, warts and all. Okay? And chances are, I'd say 99% of anybody watching this probably at some point has, either European ethnicity, Greco-Roman heritage, or Christianity in their background. And that's what's allowed you to get to this point. Okay? So stop being an asshole. Okay? Suck it up, Buttercup, and accept that that is what allows you to be who you are. Okay? That's basically what it boils down to in a nutshell. Now, I could go on and on and on and make reasoned arguments about it, and about how, man's fallen nature and, all this other great stuff. But really, there's so much more out there that so many people have covered, so much better than I could ever do it. But what I wanted to do is just put something out there that says, okay, I can't make you a Christian. Nobody can make you a Christian. Okay? And that's fine. But you should be Christian adjacent, because it's like the saying with the Jews, is first they came for the gypsies and nobody spoke up and blah blah blah, and then they finally came for me and nobody was there to speak up for me, and whatever, it's just
what's next? Genocide?
I just want you to keep that in mind. Thanks for stopping by. Take care.